name is Lisa Bielawa, and I'm one of the founders of Mata, and it's my pleasure to be a guest on Mata at Home this week. I created the first 15 chapters of Broadcast from Home, starting pretty much immediately after lockdown. I created a weekly chapter, which was an audio composition that I created almost entirely in Pro Tools, from submitted phrases that were played by people from around the world, or sung by people from around the world in response to little phrases and prompts that I made. This was a way to give voice to the experiences, the testimonies, and the vocal performances of people sheltering in place all over the world throughout that first 4 months of the crisis. I've committed myself this past year to making projects that are created entirely without click tracks and without requiring performers to engage with technology in ways that distance themselves from their own kinetic and body experience. So I've been basically doing around 40% of the composing in advance by making phrases, independent phrases that they sing or play back to me, and then 60% of the composing happens afterwards in Pro Tools, so that editing in Pro Tools is actually also composing. I think probably one of my biggest influences is Christo and Jean-Claude. I've always admired the way that Christo comes into communities and engages the participation of many, many people in the creation of his works. He always ends up, part of his practice is to talk with town planners and civic entities and get entire communities involved in making the work. So I really admire him. You know, it's funny. It turns out that the pandemic and this remote communication paradigm hasn't really changed. It's been a pretty direct translation from my large scale collaborative work in the past. I was working a lot with aleatory, and now I'm working with a kind of an extended, weird, asynchronous aleatory, where I give people great freedom to create things that then I put together in whatever way makes most sense after the fact. So I've been able to make mostly large-scale work, mostly with participation of many, many people. And it's kept me feeling like I'm in a community at a time when I, like many people, have been very, very isolated. I live by myself, so it's important to find ways to do that. When Eleanor and Philip and I started Mata, there really wasn't a place for young composers to encounter each other that wasn't just a kind of a protracted learning environment where they were eternal students interacting with some master composer who was always back then a man. And it was also, or they would encounter each other because they were competing with each other for something, because they were the finalists in some reading sessions program or something. So Mata was really the first place where composers could encounter each other and each other's work as young professionals, as people just starting out of the field. And I'm very proud of the way that that Mata has sort of taken that and really become a leader in a field that actually has embraced the young composer now a lot more than was the case back when we started it. So very, very proud.